I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Highland Park, Illinois, February 26th, 2024. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ross. Councilmember Hubler. Present. Councilmember Tapia. Present. Councilmember Littler. Here. Councilmember Stone. Here. Councilmember Bloomberg. Here. Mayor Rotering.
Here, we have a quorum. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held February 12, 2024, as amended.
Second.
Version 4, correct?
As amended,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
And I'm opposed. Okay, thank you. The minutes are approved. May I have a motion to approve the warrant list? Second.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the warrant list? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross. Councilmember Hubler.
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia. Councilmember Littler. Aye. Councilmember Stone. Aye. Councilmember Bloomberg.
Aye.
Mayor Rotering.
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays, and the warrant list is approved. We now go to the report of the mayor. I just want to state that since October 7th, 2023, terrorists continue to hold over 100 people hostage in Gaza. Families in Israel, across the globe, and here in Highland Park continue to be heartbroken by their absence and worried for their health and their safety. We continue to hold each of them in our hearts, and we call for their immediate and safe return home. I also want to note that on Saturday, February 24th, we marked 2 years since the invasion of Ukraine. We continue to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and Highland Park's Ukrainian community, especially those who have come to America since the start of this conflict and now call Highland Park home. We continue to support Ukraine's courageous fight for its democratic sovereignty. Slava Ukraini. I have no appointments. I have no proclamations. I have no other business this evening. At this time, I would like to invite Councilmember Littler to share a report on behalf of the Plan and Design Commission as she serves as that commission's council liaison.
I'm pleased to present a report on behalf of the Plan and Design Commission, where I serve as council liaison and formerly served as a commissioner. In 2015, the Plan and Design Committee was formed from a merger of the Plan Commission and the Design Review Commission. The Plan and Design Commission's jurisdiction and authority is established under Chapter 34 of the City Code. The commission is chaired by Karen Moore and 6 other appointed volunteer commissioners, plus 2 student volunteers. Formerly, these commissioners saw packets as large as the city council's. It's amazing the amount of work our volunteers put in on this commission. Senior planner Carl Burhop serves as the staff liaison with support from Director of Community Development Joel Fontaine. Frankly, the commission does some of the meatiest and in-depth review of land uses, commercial, and multiple dwelling uses. It is authorized to hold public hearings, consider testimony, and make recommendations to the City Council related to land use considerations, including planned developments, special use permits, special exceptions, and other variations and amendments to the code, zoning code, and maps. They review exterior design features for non-single-family residential structures and certain sign permit applications, landscaping and screen applications, lighting plans, awnings, and fences. They consider, develop, and recommend land use and related plans. Since 2023, the Commission has considered many development applications and land use policy matters, including but not limited to the redevelopment of the former Solo Cup site at 1700 Deerfield Road, sign variations for new scoreboards at Walters Field, fence variations for 3218 Skokie Valley Road and 425 Bloom Avenue, planned developments for the expansion and renovation of Ravinia Elementary School, sale and additions to the former Senior Center 54 Laurel Avenue, a 24-unit multifamily development at 650 Walnut Street, and the reestablishment of car wash at 1970 First Street. The Commission also considered land use policies through text amendments that included regulation of smoke and tobacco shops, facilitating accessory solar installations, limiting special assessments related to affordable housing, removing unnecessary provisions regarding bedrooms and cellars, allowing greater flexibility in certain zoning districts to accommodate two-car garages, facilitating and re-tenanting of existing buildings through changes in parking regulation, and protecting residential neighborhoods for additional plan development triggers and new plan development standards. The Commission continues to consider development applications and land use policy changes and makes recommendations to the City Council and will advise and consider the city's master plan update and other projects as directed by City Council. On a personal note, I really do have to say, this is an amazing group. They meet every 2 weeks. Our advisory groups and commissions meet at various times throughout the year, but this group every 2 weeks meets. It has a huge agenda, and it makes the work that we do, and several of us have been former commissioners. It's a wonderful education to the way the city works, and I really want to thank previous and current commissioners and student reps that have served on this commission.
Great. Thank you for that report, Councilmember Littler. I'd now like to ask Councilmember Tapia, who serves as council liaison to the Highland Park Sister Cities Foundation, to provide an update.
Mayor, so this is a report on behalf of the Highland Park Sister Cities Foundation, where I serve as council liaison. Founded in 1989, the Highland Park Sister Cities Foundation arrives to bridge cultures and promote goodwill and global peace through educational exchanges, governmental and professional economic partnerships, and humanitarian assistance. Highland Park has 3 sister cities: Modena, Italy, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and Yerushalayim, Israel. The foundation supports a variety of programs in its sister cities. The foundation supports the Desembocarte art program and Taekwondo classes for children in Puerto Vallarta and Actea, a program for young opera singers in Modena, and recently the foundation raised funds to purchase beds, space heaters, food, medicine, and baby formula for the people of Yerushalayim who are experiencing hardship after the attack on Israel on October 7th. In April, the foundation sponsored a visit from tenor Gianni Coletta from Modena to participate at Focus on the Arts. While here, Coletta, in partnership with the foundation and Ravinia's Reach, Teach, Play program, performed for students at the Cove School. In August, the foundation hosted a delegation from Puerto Vallarta, which included an outing at the Port Clinton Art Fair and concert at Ravinia Festival. Forthcoming projects include collaboration with Highland Park's Loose Screws robotics team and Caronics Robotics in Puerto Vallarta, a collaboration between Highland Park and Puerto Vallarta yoga instructors to teach prenatal yoga to Spanish speakers in Highland Park. So they do it virtually via Zoom, in an event to celebrate Day of the Child in partnership with the Arts Center and working together. The foundation has been recognized on a number of occasions for its programs and was awarded both Sister Cities International's Best Overall Program and the State of Illinois' Sister City of the Year in 2022. The foundation is a vital, vibrant, and relevant organization that continues to be a model for other programs across the state and beyond. And in fact, the current president of Sister Cities is actually the chair of Sister Cities for the state of Illinois in recognition of that. The board of the Sister Cities Foundation is made up of 22 voting members and 13 non-voting members referred to as the Friends of Sister Cities. And you can find more information at their website at hp-sistercities.org. And similar to my colleague, Councilmember Littler, on a personal note, this group is dedicated. They work really hard. They've been doing this for a couple decades or more. And they're also a very fun group. They like to party. And they are true international ambassadors of our city. They make our city proud in Italy and in Mexico and in Israel. And so we're very proud to have them represent our city in an international way.
Wonderful. Thank you. I know several members of the council have statements that they'd like to share under business from the council, so we will start with Councilmember Bloomberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to address a comment that I made last Monday, regrettably. In my effort to explain that election commissions are not responsible for determining the qualifications of candidates, I made a reference to a former New York congressman, as an example. And unfortunately, in the context of the greater conversation, I inadvertently insulted my colleague, Councilmember Hubler, and I don't feel that way about you. I respect you. I appreciate your participation here, and I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hubler.
During the February 12th meetings of the City Council and Committee of the Whole, I voluntarily recused myself from the discussion because state law requires that I do not participate in the discussions or votes related to the sale, distribution, or manufacture of alcohol. Our city manager made it very clear on the agenda and in emails to the citizens, organizations, and the press stating, I quote, "It is important for the public to understand that the intent of this agenda and its inclusion of two mutually exclusive ordinances is specifically to allow for robust discussion among city council and about city policy. This is not a discussion about a particular liquor license holder, and options are presented so the council has the flexibility to move forward with whichever path it deems to be in the best interest of the city." Unquote. Unfortunately, within the first 30 seconds of the mayor's scripted opening, it was clear that our city manager's statement was not being adhered to, as the mayor said, "We are here because," quote, "the city's ethics guidelines were not being followed," unquote. It turns out that an enormous part of the Committee of the Whole meeting was an ethics tribunal regarding me, without me being present, without me having representation, without me being called back into the room, and without public notice. At the moment the issue changed, and every time it lapsed back to ethics, the city's legal counsel should have stepped up and brought me back to the room so I could address the issues directly and defend myself with respect to the ethics discussion. But they did not. This was a failure of the mayor, the city manager, and corporate counsel. They allowed this to occur without me being present and without proper notice per the Open Meetings Act. However, what is done is done. My reputation has been tarnished, nasty inferences and comparisons made, and now 2 weeks later, I am able to respond to the allegations, slanderous statements, and distortions of the facts made by members of the city council. Before my response, I would like to publicly clarify several discussions I have had with the city's corporate counsel. Beginning with my orientation in May of last year, Mr. Elrod and I have had several discussions about the recusal process concerning municipal law. Mr. Elrod stated that, in general, I should err on the side of not recusing myself as it relates to discussions of business matters in the city, including business incentive programs, outdoor dining issues, and anything related to restaurants, as long as the matter discussed is not directly about my two Highland Park businesses. He stated that the voters of Highland Park, him being one, elected me to bring my expertise and viewpoints as a business restaurant owner to the city council, so I should not feel forced to recuse myself from those discussions. Mr. Elrod, does that fairly represent our conversations? Okay, continuing, I really want to thank all the people who came out and spoke, and in particular, I'm grateful for their kind words and support. After being attacked for 3 weeks straight, it's nice to know there are residents out there who understand why I wanted to serve this community, and that I truly want to make it a better place for all of us to live and raise our families. The time you have spent getting involved, your encouragement and support mean more than you can imagine to my family and me during this time. I chose to serve the voters of Highland Park because we knew the city needs change. That message was not always well received by some, but it's a message I believe in. You and the other Highland Park residents have made it clear that you want me to continue to serve, and I appreciate all of that, regardless of the final outcome. I would also like to thank the business community and the HP Chamber of Commerce and members of those groups who voiced their support for me. This law unjustly discriminates against all of them, and I will continue to support you as you have supported me. I've thought long and hard with my friends and family about how to respond to the deeply insulting, slanderous accusations and rhetoric, but I'm not going to do that. When this council presented the slogan, "Together Highland Park Unidos," I was very impressed with the thoughtfulness of the statement and the message it conveyed. However, it's become clear that the leadership in Highland Park and the council are anything but together and united. The actions of this council to attempt to scapegoat one of their members as unethical was clearly done for political gain, and that only serves to divide this community. As Aaron Fry stated at the last council meeting, we are seeing standard divisive politics at play, and the people in this community are not blind to what is going on. Together, Highland Park Unidos starts at the top with all of us. So I'm going to do my part to live up to the ideals of that statement for the betterment of this community and move on. Thank you.
Councilmember Littwer.
One quick more thing to say. Since I've been told that the next two council members will be discussing matters impacting the manufacture, sale, or distribution of alcohol, I will be recusing myself while they comment.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our community for their thoughtful participation in the review of our liquor law at the last meeting, February 12th. Your comments, emails, and phone calls were informed, thoughtful, caring, and concerned. I read from a prepared statement last meeting because as I had said, I wanted to make sure I covered all the points that I had researched, discussed, and reviewed. But it did not adequately cover the points you brought to light. And I wanted to commend my fellow council member, Yumi Ross, who truly listened to the community, thoughtfully considered your concerns along with her former research before voting. I want to be mindful and include what I have heard and learned from you. Whatever your vocation or background, you are our citizenry, and I believe it is our job to listen to your views before ultimately taking a vote of this significance. For the record, 16 of the 18 speakers spoke in favor of the amendment, and the almost 100 emails that I received did the same. But the two last speakers and 2 emails I received asked us as a body to take more time in deciding the issue of changing our current liquor ordinance. While we did study the issue, had Corporation Counsel conduct a significant amount of research and held what was to have been a discussion about the ordinance of the Committee of the Whole meeting, preceding the council meeting you all attended, I think it would behoove this body to request additional research on liquor laws and the bases for their protections. For example, Corporation Counsel, you did a survey of 52 local towns to determine who still had the original liquor ordinance on their books. You then explained to me that, to your knowledge, 10 towns had considered it and amended it to be consistent with Illinois state law, and the remainder had not considered it. Is that correct?
That is a correct statement.
Thank you. I'd like more information regarding how other towns have treated this issue specifically, and what is the compelling interests the current law is protecting, and why other towns which have considered this law concluded that amending it to require recusal of a city council member adequately addressed those compelling interests. I would also like to learn the reason for distinguishing this controlled substance from that of marijuana and tobacco. I was troubled that the Committee of the Whole meeting digressed into an ethics discussion where one council member's ethics were discussed without the benefit of all the facts as to what standards were communicated to him. In reflecting on this discussion, I believe we need to better define and communicate what ethical standards apply to council members. We will examine some of our ethics guidelines at our March Committee of the Whole meeting, and I invite you all to attend, as Corporation Counsel will assist us in a context where all questions can be aired by our entire body. After further study, it will still behoove us to reconsider the liquor ordinance in light of the community's input and our additional research to better inform us of the public interests at stakes. Perhaps this process will put us back on the right track in determining the need for the current ordinance or whether to amend it, and help us to work together to ensure our city moves forward, putting first the interests of the public. I look forward to reconsideration and study of this issue, a more respectful and collegial work effort between the members of the City Council, and the furtherance of all city business. Again, I thank you for your input.
Councilmember Tapia.
Just a point of clarification, if I may, the ethics discussion is planned for April 8th, not March.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tapia.
Thank you. I think about where we are today, given how our community has fared before, during, and after the February 12th debate and vote on the liquor license / office holder incompatibility ordinance in the books. I have some reflections. It's been a very painful 2 weeks being in the midst of the division within our own city council. This division has created collateral damage by generating a vast array of feelings within our community. I wonder if we as leaders are serving our residents with their best interests in mind. Clearly, as office holders, we have the responsibility to operate within the bounds of rules, laws, and ordinances. Often the issues before us are straightforward, and the interpretation of what is the best thing to do is relatively easy to agree with. However, as we all know, as much as things should be clear-cut regarding interpreting the words on a page, they are not. Otherwise, there would not be a legal system where, by definition, in any dispute, both sides must be represented by lawyers who are expected to present alternative views on how the law is being interpreted. In addition, there are built-in mechanisms to appeal interpretations. Not only so much of the drama of the legal system based on conflicting interpretations, but there's a long history of actual ordinances, rules, and laws being challenged as being outdated, irrelevant, and even prejudicial. And this is where we are regarding Ordinance 119.320. Round and round we go, the parsing of it all leading to an impasse. It's an impasse because while the ordinance change did not pass, it is based on the stalemate of a 3-3 vote. I consider it a stalemate and not a resolved issue because it did not address the actual dilemma. And this unresolved dilemma is clearly hurting our community. It is polarizing as people try to figure out what is going on. It has many distraught. The last thing our community needs, after all the trauma we have faced and continue to experience its repercussions, after the many ways we came together as a community to support one another, is to be divided by the different interpretations of an outdated law of little consequence in the great scheme of things. I have learned as a leader that when facing a paradox, which is indeed what we are facing, and today's world has us facing paradoxes like never before, we must seek new ways of thinking. We must find our way out of paradigms that keep us trapped in the impasse, where no matter how much more we debate it here in conversations and in social media, little seems to be changing in terms of our feelings and thoughts other than creating more frustration and despair. So how do we get out of this win-lose paradigm that we're in now? We must get out of a mentality that we are in an either-or dilemma, and instead that we're in a both-and paradox, where two seemingly incompatible things can both be true at the same time. Therefore, instead of being in a win-lose paradigm, we must find to create a win-win paradigm, and one that triages the issues in a new way. Without saying neither is important, the key question is, what is more important? Finding the winning argument around a 100-year-old ordinance, or finding a way to bring the balm of healing to our community? Which is more important? Triage this way, we have an easy way to do that. Imagine if we were to pause and not force each other to agree on the quote right or the quote wrong of this issue, but instead find a way to agree that the most important thing we want to find is the most healing response. The one that even in the midst of intellectual disagreement on the issue at hand, if we were able to put the issue to rest by seeking the path of grace, we remove the vice grip of confrontation that is asphyxiating us all. Why can't we say that mistakes were made by all of us, that we will learn from our mistakes, that we will tie up loose ends, and that for the sake of our community's well-being, let go of confrontation and instead seek collaboration? The way forward is available to us by accepting the state of Illinois' way out, which gives us the ability by a simple majority vote in the city council to remove the very barrier that's keeping us divided. There's too much hate, division, polarization, and confrontation at the national level. It is tearing our country apart. Of course, there are issues that are vitally important that we have to stand up to and not accept. But are we really going to allow this liquor ordinance issue to divide us in such a painful way when there are many more existential threats we must come together to overcome? It is our responsibility as the leaders of this city council to lead our community, not in a way that leaves us pitted against each other, but instead helps us find common cause and unite. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite City Manager Kirk to provide the staff report.
Yeah, Emily Taub is getting Councilmember Hubler.
Thank you.
Mayor, we and council members, there are 5 items on the agenda, on the omnibus agenda, that are recommended for approval. I just want to draw the public's attention to item number 2, this Forest Bank and Trust. This proposed lease supplements additional parking in the downtown district, and this is particularly important this year light of the significant infrastructure investment that we're going to be undertaking. Most notably, the Second Street parking lot is going to be under construction early this spring. And then we are going to proceed with the Second Street revitalization, which is another exciting infrastructure investment downtown. So we'll have further details about both of those projects, as well as the timing of them, as in addition to resurfacing all the streets in the downtown district. But this particular lease agreement mirrors 2 other leases agreements that we have with Lake Forest Bank and Trust. And again, this provides additional public parking for customers in the downtown district. It's recommended for approval.
Great, thank you so much. The next item on tonight's agenda is business from the public. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on a topic that is within the council's purview and jurisdiction, but is not listed in another location on the agenda. If you would like to speak about a matter that is listed on the agenda, we ask that you wait until that agenda item is called, and we will give you an opportunity to speak then. If your matter is on the omnibus consent agenda, please let us know if you would like us to remove that matter from the consolidated list so that you can speak about it. Please be aware, business from the public is not intended to be a forum for open dialogue or engagement with the City Council. Rather, it is intended as an opportunity to make comments to the council. Please do not expect a response from anyone this evening. If appropriate, we may direct the city manager or other city staff to respond to questions or issues raised at a later date. All comments should be directed to the City Council. All speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We request that the public not applaud or make other comments after any speaker. We ask that everyone be respectful, civil, and non-repetitive. Good evening. Please state your name.
Park over 50 years. We've heard of RU 486. Cyclone V and RU 486 was made by sister companies. Killed millions during the Holocaust. The other is killing millions in the United States as we're talking. And if a mother has a pregnancy, an ectopic pregnancy, and doesn't have an ultrasound, she can be killed just as easily without even knowing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, a reminder to please keep your topic within the city's purview and jurisdiction. Any other speakers from the public who wish to be heard? Please come forward and feel free to line up at the podium. Everybody, come on up. It's all good.
My name is Steve Kessler. I have been a retail business owner in Highland Park for 36 years. I've been a resident for 31 years. I understand we are allotting a lot of money to a particular restaurant that's going to come into town. I understand that bringing new business is crucial to our well-being. I don't understand giving all that public money to one entity. Our business district is in trouble, guys. I know. I'm on the front lines every day for 36 years. There are empty spaces all over. What concerns me even more, that proven successful real businesses like Panera, like Free People, like Urban Barbecue, like Men's Warehouse, they can't make a go of it in Highland Park. Clearly, we're doing something wrong. My thoughts when I heard about the amount of money that was being used, and I'm no expert in fiscal matters for the city like you guys are, is that money, and maybe we have additional money we can use, but I would like to suggest a PR campaign for Highland Park. Television, radio, billboards, online. Come look at our beautiful, cute downtown that we have. We used to have a concert every Thursday night at Port Clinton. Hundreds of people came. It was great. My feeling from the city, really that I've always gotten, is that there is no appreciation from the government for us business owners that are the fabric of this city. A short anecdote. A year ago, My business is right on Central Avenue. I approach the business in the middle of the afternoon. There's two guys in construction vests, and they're lifting a manhole cover in front of my store. I said, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're turning off the water." "Oh, you're turning off the water? There's 4 businesses here." "Yeah, well, evidently your landlord didn't pay the bill." I said, "Well, how much is it?" He said, $700. I said, "Okay, how about if I go pay the bill? Will you leave my water on and don't close all these businesses?" My point is, and then I just took it from my rent. It was fine. Somebody in this government made the decision that it was worth $700 to close 4 businesses for the day. Are you kidding me? It's outrageous. So I don't mean to be so angry. I want help. You know, nobody in 36 years has ever walked in from the city and say, "Steve, how's it going? Can we help you in any way?" So we're helping this restaurant. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's helping Baby Dreams. Nobody's helping the barbecue restaurant. What's going on? I grossed $116 in 8.5 hours today. I am fearful for the future, not just for my own business. I'm a Highland Parker. I raised my children here. They graduated from Highland Park. I love this city. We're still suffering from the shooting. We are suffering from the war in Gaza. We're suffering from the economy in general. We need help. Your business owners need your help.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler.
That's what I have to say.
City Manager Newkirk, do you want to?
Yes, I'd love to address it. And Steve, okay, that's okay. So you raised a number of good points, and thank you for coming in this evening. So Erin Jason is one of our assistant city managers. So I want to address a number of your points, and then she can talk to you one-on-one after the meeting if you like, just to further elaborate on.
Possible, I'd like to do.
Sure, whenever it's convenient for you. And I know you know Carolyn Hirsch is our business development manager, and she, one of her tasks of many is to go out and meet with all of our businesses to talk about initiatives, services, programs, plans. So one, let me just start out by saying we love the city just as much as you do. And Highland Park is doing so many things right. So we have a really robust, comprehensive business development strategic plan that other communities across the nation are really looking to us and saying, "Hey, share with us how you're doing this, how you're approaching that." There's various facets to that, but briefly, just there's an emphasis on business retention, and that's working with our existing businesses because it is a partnership. We want you to succeed because it improves the quality of life in our community and helps Highland Park overall. And it's also business attraction, which is bringing business into the community. We have overall, our occupancy rate is higher than most other communities. But we recognize also that there are vacancies, and we are doing a lot to work with property owners to fill those vacant spaces, because again, the city doesn't control those leases. We have an exterior improvement grant program that the city council expanded that program in late '23, and that was rolled out this year. So that grant program now offers more money to businesses for improvements to their business. And there's a larger array of improvements that are eligible for that. So that was an enhanced economic incentive tool for businesses as part of our partnership for improving businesses. The boutique incentive that you had talked about is an initiative that the city council had approved in late '23, and then we introduced that this year. We did approve an economic incentive for Ballyhoo Hospitality, specifically to attract Danucci's Restaurant into Highland Park. There's a number of criteria that businesses need to meet to even be eligible for those. It's not available to any restaurant because we are specifically targeting businesses that we want to locate in our community, businesses that have a proven track record, that are generating a minimum sales volume, that have proven in other communities to bring additional feet on the streets to improve the vitality in the community. So it is a unique program, and it is, it's not forever. We're going to evaluate it. So we have funds in this budget in order to implement that, and we're going to continue to regularly evaluate it, just like we do our economic incentive to large sales tax generators, which has been in existence for a number of years, and again, proven to be very worthwhile. You talked about marketing. We have a robust marketing program. We do advertising, and so we can further provide you information about that. You talked about concerts, and we are doing a number of initiatives specifically at the lot. There's events planned every week, as well as major special events at least every month. So from June until end of September, until early October, there are different events at the lot. Again, putting Highland Park on a map for people to say, hey, I want to go to Highland Park because there's a lot happening there. There's music and there's food and there's shopping and there's different things. We are also having a meeting with all of our restaurants on April 17th. And so you'll have an invitation to that meeting this week. And so again, that's just another way that we want to continue to engage with all of our businesses, but this meeting is specifically for restaurants. So just wanted to highlight a number of different things that you brought up. And again, okay, and Aaron can follow up with you this week, and certainly Carolyn will too.
Is there a retention program right now for businesses that you have right now?
Absolutely, yes.
No one has ever contacted me.
We'll make sure that you have the information about it. The other thing, and I'm sorry that I forgot to mention, is the water. So just so the public is aware, and we can certainly look at the specific incident that you had referenced to us, but as it pertains to water bills, there's a minimum of 3 different notices that are given to not only property owners that are paying those bills, but also for the tenants, because we don't want to happen, the example that you provided. So we can look into that specific incident. And again, the last thing that we want to do is shut off anyone's water. So believe me, we give warnings upon warnings upon warnings, and working with people to make sure that certainly those bills are being paid, just because like we have to pay our own bills as well.
Yeah, I never got a notice.
No, and I believe you. We want to check into what happened, certainly. Yeah, well,
Phone call said, hey, Steve, you know, your landlord's not paying the water bill. You might want to talk to him, and that all could have been avoided.
absolutely. And we'll check into that. We'll check into that. I know we have a procedure in place, and so if something happens, then we definitely want to follow up on that. I definitely appreciate your concern.
To hear of all the things that you have in.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you for giving me a couple minutes to have my say. Thank you all.
Thank you. I think it's
You guys did
important.
hard jobs. I respect you.
Thank you. I think it's important to note also that the restaurants are also contributing. It's not just one direction, but they too need to
Yes.
invest. You and I looked at each other with the same idea.
Yes, thank you. And I emailed someone earlier, the same exact thing. Yes, it is an investment by the property owner and from the business as well, certainly. Yes.
Well, can you be specific? Since we know how much the city has offered, you know, the grant there, how much is
So
valuable?
Ballyhoo, for example, is putting in a minimum of $800,000 into that space to occupy there.
Thank you.
And then the owner is doing lease considerations and also financial assistance.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
I'm not against this, but
No, it's a very good question. It's a very good question.
remember us?
Yeah.
Been here for decades. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will state the name of your business, Rock and Rags. Thank you. Thank you. Who else would like to speak from the public?
My name is Will Hendrick. I'm a Highland Park resident. I'm back for more on the liquor license issue. I know we all had a lot of fun with that, so wanted to continue that. At our last meeting, this council expressed commitment to the principles of democracy and maintaining an impartial posture in its actions. Councilmember Stone, I believe that was specifically mentioned in your policy speech. But I heard from all the members, including those who voted nay on the proposal in question, stress this to some degree, or at least address democracy and impartiality. I fully support these values. For this reason, I respectfully request that the City Council consider initiating a referendum considering the ordinance amending Section 119.320 of our city code regarding the local liquor license applications. As you know, the Illinois Constitution and state statutes provide pathways for public questions to be decided by the voters. A referendum on this ordinance would allow the residents of Highland Park to directly express the views on the matter of significant community interest. Some of us believe the ordinance makes sense. Some of us have concerns. A referendum provides a clear path to a resolution which, by the way, if you could tell from the beginning of this meeting, that we do not yet have. Some have suggested a resident-led petition. The preferred path, in my mind, is one initiated by you all because it would be legally binding, whereas my understanding of the law is one initiated by the public would be advisory only. I'm not sure that really helps us and kind of just wastes our time. I'm running out of time here, so I'll just wrap it up. But the act of putting the question to the public is itself neutral. And a referendum is the ultimate expression of listening and empowering our community while also addressing the issues that concern some of you. Finally, just before I wrap up, Councilmember Bloomberg, I appreciate your apology. I know that's probably not the easiest thing to do, and that was a very good step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Gary Gordon. My wife and I live on University and have done so for 29 years. Our 2 children were raised here. We bought our house on University Avenue in part based on the less urban ambience of the neighborhood, including that there were many mature trees and no sidewalks. Like us, every other person who bought their house on University Avenue also must have realized they were buying a house on a street with no sidewalks. My wife and I are adamantly opposed to adding sidewalks on University Avenue. Our concerns include losing the feel of the neighborhood, the loss of trees, and water runoff, among other issues. This evening, I'm focusing on an important and unanswered question. What problem is the city attempting to solve by installing a sidewalk on University Avenue? Proponents of the need for a sidewalk on University Avenue have claimed that there is a need based on safety concerns. We asked the city for information to examine 2 safety issues, speeding and accidents. Based on that information, here are the facts to consider as provided by the city. Speeding. Based on a study conducted by the city in 2023, there is no evidence there is a speeding problem on University Avenue. The speed limit is 25 miles per hour. Of the 2,354 vehicles analyzed over at least a 10-day period of time, the average speed was 22 miles per hour, and the 85th percentile speed was 26 miles per hour. Quoting from the report obtained from the city, the percentage of enforceable violations was 0. The city's conclusion in the February 12, 2024 sidewalk report provided to us was that the findings were consistent with the rest of Highland Park. Thus, there is no documented problem with speeding outside of Highland Park norms. Of course, sidewalks do nothing. The speeding problem. What about accidents? Records provided by the Highland Park Police Department earlier this month show there were no, and I repeat, no pedestrian accidents on University recorded or reported over the last 6 years. And in fact, no pedestrian accidents in all of the Highlands. There was one accident that involved a bicyclist that was the bicyclist's fault, and that occurred on Old Trial and Warbler, east of University and east of Summit Avenues. Finally, of the 68 total accidents that occurred in the Highlands, only 3, all of them non-pedestrian, occurred on University Avenue, 3 of 68. Again, there are no documented issues with pedestrian accidents on University Avenue. Thus, the information provided by the city demonstrates no evidence to support the need for a sidewalk based on safety concerns. Given the other problems that Highland Park is facing, such as reviving businesses in downtown Highland Park and Ravinia, it can be argued that there are priorities for our tax dollars other than solving a non-existent problem. Speaking as a recreational and in the past commuting cyclist, if this is an attempt by some to clear the street for high-speed large group cycling, this motivation should be made public and not shielded with deception and subterfuge. In closing, I ask the City Council to specify for the record what problem the city is trying to solve by spending resources to build a new sidewalk on University Avenue and to provide documentation that substantiates that need and that the council should provide assurance that the documentation thereof will be provided in a timely manner.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Who else would like to speak?
My name is Josh Weiner. My husband and I have been residents of Highland Park since 2018. I'm commenting today on the city's public feedback solicitation for the University Avenue Sidewalk project. As someone who has designed and administered feedback mechanisms professionally, I question whether the city is doing an effective job of informing itself of residents' views before making project recommendations. After reviewing the letters sent to residents to solicit feedback, the reported results, and the 2016 and 2020 Local Streets New Sidewalk Installation Guideline, I question this for a couple of reasons. Feedback was solicited in a way that required a free-form response. This is problematic because free-form responses promote non-response bias by increasing the perceived barrier to providing the actual feedback. While the city shows its intent to understand public feedback by way of a percentage count, akin to a survey result, it provides a feedback mechanism that unnecessarily invites significant levels of ambiguity into the responses and subjectivity in interpreting those responses into support or non-support, just by way of being free form. A FOIA request even proved this to be problematic. Finally, the city updated its guideline to make a non-response a vote in favor of the project. There are a myriad of reasons why residents are unable to or do not respond to solicitations for feedback, including my reference to the fact that soliciting free-form responses increases non-response bias. It is therefore unreasonable and disingenuous to have a guideline that count these as in favor. While I'm not an affected resident, I am concerned with the way the city has chosen to collect, interpret, and publish summary findings of the data collected. It opens up the city to inaccuracy in understanding its constituents' views and to questions of potential manipulation or bias. I would like to see the city consider developing a consistent guideline for soliciting public feedback that is informed by commonly accepted statistical practices for accurate feedback results. If the intent is to understand whether a household is in favor or against something, it makes most sense to provide a clear multiple choice-based response form that can be submitted to the city in a way most convenient for the respondent. Understanding that the purpose is feedback, it is perfectly reasonable to also provide opportunity for optional free-form feedback along with that choice. These may seem like small changes, but they can be the difference between a 60% and 90% response rate. I hope the city will take this request seriously. If the public feels the city has ascertained its opinion in a fair, unbiased, and statistically correct way, it is less likely to question the results, and the city is more likely to enact policy and projects that are representative of its constituent views. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Hellrung. I'm also a resident on University Avenue. Pretty much, I'm not going to rehash everything that these two gentlemen said. I agree with them. The concerns I have are about the safety of the project. I'm a former firefighter, paramedic, and I currently am an ER nurse, and I've never had any safety issues living on University. I've got sons that have grown up there. Sorry. And they've walked to school. It was one of the reasons why we picked the street, because it was within walking distance to the schools. As far as traffic, there's not a lot of traffic on there. I mean, you do get occasionally some cars that'll zip through. I'll give you that. We do get a lot of people that walk on the streets, walking their dogs, but I've never seen anybody stand in the way and say, hey, I'm walking here, drive around me. A lot of people just kind of move out of the way. It's kind of common sense. Also, with the sidewalks, the onus is on the property owner who the sidewalk goes through on the parkway to maintain that area, particularly in the winter. So what happens when people try to walk on the sidewalk, or the homeowner hasn't shoveled or maintained it, put salt on there, and somebody slips and falls. Who's responsible? Who's legally liable? Is it the homeowner for not maintaining the sidewalk? Is it the city? That is a concern. And I know, being an ER nurse, just a little bit of ice, and we get 10s, 20, 30 people coming in, slip and fall. Happens every single time. Matter of fact, you can see them walking in the door. I'm like, let me guess, you fell on the ice. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kevin Cullither. I'm a resident of Highland Park. I'm also a member of the zoning board, so anything I say here tonight is on my own behalf and not on behalf of my members, my colleagues, or the board. Having watched your last meeting, I was both pleased and disheartened with what I saw. The disheartening part was taken care of this evening. Thank you, Council Member Bloomberg. Your apology tonight. I was going to make another analogy, but I have since decided to withdraw. What you have before you tonight is the certification from the City of Highland Park to the Lake County Clerk of the candidates to appear on the ballot in the April 2023 election. And unfortunately, the city manager and the city attorney 2 weeks ago indicated that the certification was done by the county clerk. It is not. It is the city manager's signature on the certification of eligibility, saying that these names should be printed on the ballot. This is a very different, if the public in Highland Park can't count on the government to get it right. You know, we don't all have the resources to hire an attorney to run for election, and we shouldn't have to. We all know from middle school what the qualifications were to be a member of the United States House of Representatives, to be a United States Senator, to be the President of the United States. And when questions have come up, legislation has miraculously been passed. For example, when questions were raised about whether or not Senator McCain was eligible because he was born in Panama, it was clarified that he was a natural-born citizen. Similar questions have appeared about other candidates. So all I'm asking for you moving forward from today is that for future elections, the candidate packet provided by the City of Highland Park include what the qualifications are to be a member of City Council, and to include anything with regards to disqualifying attributes or professional experiences that may disqualify a candidate from serving the City of Highland Park. Because what is really going on here, I think, is an undermining of democracy. And that is not what this city stands for. That is what's going on in the state of Florida, where the governor has removed elected officials at his whim and put in the candidate he wants. That is not Highland Park. It shouldn't be Highland Park, but that is what we're on the brink of. And with that, I just want to say thank you.
Anybody else from the public wishing to be heard?
I'm Pamela Weiner. I live on University. When considering, we got a survey considering sidewalks, and I certainly understand why some of the residents would say, oh, it'd be nice, sidewalks. But then when you think about it a little farther, what effect is it going to have on our tree-lined streets? And that's my biggest concern. So I'd like you to consider the following issues that we face if sidewalks come into our area. I want to talk about the mature trees and the green space, and those are the reasons I'm really concerned. Trees purify our air. They absorb half of global emissions. We have 100 trees that will be affected by this proposal. Trees cool our homes and streets. If you have 3 mature trees around your home, That can reduce your energy costs by 30%, and that's air conditioning. They provide windbreaks and help with heating costs. We have an area where there's a lot of flooding, and the rains are coming faster than they ever have before. I mean, we've got climate change going on, and flooding is a problem in our area. So trees protect again with the flooding. They absorb 1,500 to 2,000 gallons of water per year. One tree, which helps with flooding and stabilizing the soil. As a real estate broker, in the Highland Park website, it says tree-lined streets add 15% to our property value. And right now, we have a tree-lined street. Why will sidewalks affect our trees? Even if some trees are not taken down, which some of them will have to be, if we've got 10 feet, 5 feet, then another 5 feet for the sidewalk and in, trees are going to have to go down. And most of these are oaks, which their roots are high. And even if they're not taken down, if they're within that construction area, they will be affected within 2 or 3 years and they'll be gone. And I've had personal experience with this when I lived on a tree-lined street in Deerfield. In my opinion, and I would say in most environmentalists' opinion, mature trees are precious. Our trees are to be revered and protected. Trees that are more than 2 generations thrive on our streets in the Highlands. We live in an ecosystem that is known as oak savanna. Most of us have not lived here as long as these trees. We have heritage trees on our property. We have one tree that's 175 years old, and it's right in the path of a sidewalk. We have an opportunity to make a big difference for the future of our area and city by simply doing less. By laying down less concrete and keeping a greener cityscape, we protect our trees and confirm our commitment as a tree city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Feinstein. I've been a resident of Highland Park for close to 40 years now. And first of all, I want to thank you again for all that you do, all of your hard work to make our city better. And I also want to share my concerns about the way the city is being torn apart right now as a consequence of the stalemate growing out of the last council meeting. We heard a lot of rhetoric, we heard accusations, we heard observations, but really there was just one issue that was pertinent, and that was this: is the public interest served by banning the owner of a restaurant with a liquor license from serving on the council? The answer to that question should have been easy, because the public already decided that exact question in the last election. The public overwhelmingly decided that they want someone with a liquor license to serve on the council. Adult voters should be presumed capable of understanding what's in their own best interest. And that is why the current uproar in the community is not about Jeff Hubler, and it's not about changing an ordinance for the sole purpose of correcting a violation. The ordinance should be changed because it conflicts with the will of the voters of Highland Park, and because the public itself is the best arbiter of what serves and protects its interests. I also want to share some of what I'm hearing about other explanations that have been given for blocking the amendment. We first of all heard serious concerns about conflicts of interest, and that is a serious matter. But conflicts may arise whenever anyone who makes money and owns real estate in Highland Park serves on the council. And in all of these cases, when conflicts arise, the remedy is recusal. We were told that recusal won't protect the public because a liquor licensee may lobby behind the scenes. But every council member may lobby behind the scenes. In fact, a while back, I was inadvertently copied on an email from a council member who pressed his views behind the scenes and then recused himself from voting. And that council member was not a liquor licensee. Bear in mind that in the specific context of liquor licenses, updated state laws tell us that recusal is a perfectly appropriate way to protect the public when conflicts of interest do arise. Next, we were reminded that liquor is a controlled substance, but that's another distinction without a real difference. Today, a Highland Park council member can sell pot and cigarettes, but he can't own a restaurant with a liquor license, and that makes no sense. We were told that maybe this ban will one day be extended to cover cannabis too, but that's just speculation. It's not the law, and it doesn't cure the absurdity of the situation that actually exists. In short, we've heard a lot of accurate statements of fact. There may be conflicts of interest. Someone may lobby behind the scenes. Liquor is a controlled substance, but none of them explains why a liquor licensee is uniquely dangerous to the integrity of the council. And I think most of us would agree that elections have consequences, and for that reason, I really hope that this matter can be reconsidered in deference to the wishes of the people of Highland Park so that we can all move together as a unified community. And I want to thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard?
People from university sound like they have a good argument. 2 weeks ago, my name's Erwin Bernstein. 2 weeks ago, you voted down a motion to amend a city ordinance. Corporate counsel did not know of the law. City staff did not know of the law. Longstanding members of the council did not know of the law. Members of the Liquor Commission did not know of the law. And our mayor, the liquor commissioner, obligated to review each application and to determine if there are grounds for denial, did not know of the law. Still, rather than a full discussion on the merits of the amendment, the council's focus was on a member's ethical lapses and concern that the motion was only for his benefit. Had the last minute been an ethics hearing, all sides would have had the opportunity to speak, and Mr. Hubler would have had the opportunity to address his accusers. Instead, that meeting felt like a witch hunt. Were there lapses? I don't believe so, but you might disagree. But if the meeting was an ethics hearing, you would have heard from both Mr. Hubler and the city's corporate counsel. You would have learned that Hubler sought legal guidance and that corporate counsel encouraged him to participate in the meeting to provide the unique insight that a business holder and liquor license holder has. The council should address its rules and guidance on ethics, recusal, and conflicts. I believe the public agrees. As was pointed out, it makes no sense that liquor is treated differently from cannabis, gambling, construction, or real estate. All have potential conflicts, and all should be addressed equally and in the best interest of the community, not a single individual. Was the timing of the motion due to the impact on Councilmember Hubler? My guess is it might have been, and with hindsight, it could have been explored more carefully prior to being brought to the floor. If speed was the concern and the motion was brought too quickly, a council member could have suggested a delay to review the issues rather than attack a member. While the timing might be troublesome, the motion's aim was clear: to align the ordinance with the overwhelming mood of the community. No one knew the mayor was required to deny a liquor license during the last election. Voters were not concerned about the conflicts, and I don't ever remember it being a campaign issue. I believe Hubler was the #1 vote getter because he was a local merchant running a business that required a liquor license. Hundreds of citizens have publicly voiced their support for a change in the law because they want all active local merchants to participate in our local government without exclusion. So where do we go now? I urge the council to review its ethics guidelines. If it desires, it can investigate Mr. Hubler in a fair and respectful hearing where he has a chance to present his own story. I also urge the council to listen to the community. Please amend the law barring a citizen from serving both drinks in his restaurant and the public on the city council. Thank you.
Corporation Counsel, there were two statements made that I think maybe bear correcting. One is that the mayor reviews all applications for liquor licenses. That's not correct.
That's correct. That's done administratively by staff.
Corporation does that. And second, okay, I can just tell you that that is the practice. And
Mayor, so
But the
Designate staff to oversee that.
administrative review
Correct, yes.
by staff. And the other is that Corporation Counsel told Mr. Hubler that it was okay to not recuse regarding liquor discussions, and I don't know that that was part of your conversation.
Not specifically liquor discussions, but more broad on restaurant discussions was my.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hubler said it correctly in his statement.
Right, I just wanted to make sure Mr. Bernstein knew that as well. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard?
Mayor, if I could just also just clarify the point about the petitions, the election process.
Sure.
So the city does receive petition packets from Lake County. We make those available to individuals that are interested in running for office. We do accept those. We make sure that they meet the most basic requirements, and then we provide those to Lake County. Lake County is really the election authority that is overseeing that, and then, of course, the state election code. So we don't review any conflicts of interest. We're not certifying that the information is correct on the application. It's all collected in-house and then provided to Lake County Clerk.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloomberg?
I think the point that was made is not quite what that is. The suggestion was, and I'm not registering an opinion on it either way, but as I understand the suggestion is that our packets, when they're distributed, should include a list of disqualifications for running for office. For instance, you have to be a resident. I know that's obvious. As I understand the comment that was made, the recommendation was that the city take on a burden in distributing packets as to what the disqualifications would be. I don't know that I agree that we should do that, but I think that was specifically what the comment was.
Corporation Counsel?
We can certainly do all of that. But I think we should have a discussion. I think there are a lot of lessons learned here. I think that the focus should be on telling, this is a condition on a liquor license. So
Understood.
I believe that the onus should be on us if we could do a better job when we issue liquor licenses or when we receive applications or put together application packages for liquor licensees, be very clear about what the disqualifications may be or what the consequences may be of being issued a liquor license. That should be where the attention should be, not necessarily on candidates.
I understand that. I'm not making a recommendation either way. I just, that's what I understood the suggestion was.
And it's definitely something that we can do. Again, we don't run the election.
Discussion about it.
But we can certainly include information in a package.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to scheduled business. Items 1 through 5 have been grouped together for omnibus consideration. I'm seeking a motion to approve items 1 through 5.
I have a comment first.
Okay.
I have to make a statement in relationship to number 1. For the record, I own a restaurant similar to Norton's. I have discussed this with legal counsel and will not be recusing myself as it relates to discussions of business matters in the city, including business incentive programs, outdoor dining, anything related to restaurants, et cetera, as long as the matter discussed is not directly about my 2 Highland Park businesses, and therefore I will be voting on ordinance number 1.
Okay.
And I would like to also make a comment about ordinance number 1 in particular because of the gentleman who was here earlier. You know, the headline for the new economic development pillar was a large grant to Ballyhoo. However, we have not forgotten about our existing businesses. Norton's is the first to take advantage of our modifications to what was called initially an awning grant and then the facade grant improvement, and that now allows for money and for additional items such as outdoor furniture. I'm extremely happy that we are helping Norton's remain a pillar restaurant in the community, and I'm excited to vote for this grant.
Great, thank you. Do we have a motion and a second for 1 and 5? Okay,
I second.
great. Any further comments on 1 through 5? Any from the public? With that, I'll ask the clerk to call the vote.
Councilmember Ross?
Aye.
Councilmember Hubler?
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia?
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer?
Aye.
Councilmember Stone?
I'm going to vote aye on 1 through 4, and I'm going to vote nay on number 5. I'm not going to be voting to approve purchase of additional fossil fuel-powered vehicles.
Councilmember Bloomberg?
Aye.
Mayor Rotering?
Aye. That is 6 ayes, no nays for 1 through 4. No, 7 ayes, no nays for 1 through 4. 6 ayes, 1 nay for number 5. Item number 6 is an ordinance amending the City of Highland Park zoning ordinance of 1997 as amended regarding off-street parking and loading requirements. Joel?
Probably should speak again.
Councilmember Hubler?
Also, in terms of ordinance number 6, my businesses are on one of the areas affected by this ordinance. I have also discussed that with legal counsel, and we agree this is not a conflict of interest, and therefore I will not be recusing myself with respect to this matter. An additional disclosure, I have not been involved in the process of drafting or reviewing anything related to this ordinance until it was brought up on the agenda tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay. The city code, the zoning code specific, parking and loading requirements. Staff recommend consideration of the ordinance amending this regulations for non-residential uses. The commission considered this matter over the course of several public hearing dates and voted to recommend approval 6-0. So just a little background on the repark rule. The repark rule is a phrase coined by staff. It pertains to section 158.02 and D of the zoning code. It allows tenant spaces to be occupied with permitted uses without requiring additional off-street parking, as long as no expansion is proposed and the property is within the applicable zoning district. This legislative initiative is part of a broad ongoing effort to address business needs, encourage re-tenanting of existing commercial spaces, and streamline processes. The proposed amendment will expand the applicability of the current repark rule to include 1, B1, I, and B3 zoning districts, to include uses that are from conforming uses to conditional uses, changes from legal pre-existing non-conforming uses to either permitted or conditional uses, and to include buildings within the B2 and B2RW zoning districts, regardless of when they were constructed, similar to the B5 district. And for everyone's reference, B5 district is the downtown district. B2, B2RW district is the Ravenna district. And then lastly, changes to ensure that certain aspects, section 802G recognizes the above amendments. That's the end of my presentation. Here to answer any questions and comments.
Any questions from the council?
Wanted to add from Plan and Design Commission a little bit, if that's okay.
Thank you.
The Plan and Design Commission had several hearings about this. They really went into it in depth. And really the sort of thinking behind this was to make this town more user-friendly toward businesses so that parking could be accommodated more easily. And when a group was coming in, it'd be easier to get your permitting and everything else straightened up. So it's really a streamlining process for businesses that are changing, maybe a use, so long as that use is still permitted under our current legislation. So that's why, that's the thinking behind it. It's to open it up more and not have to go through a change process.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yep. No?
I'd like to make a motion to approve it
Sounds
for
good.
the reasons stated by Councilmember Lidor, that it helps our businesses.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments?
Confirm you're approving the ordinance as drafted.
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, will the clerk please call the vote?
Councilmember Ross?
Aye.
Councilmember Hubler?
Aye.
Councilmember Tapia?
Aye.
Councilmember Littlewer?
Aye.
Councilmember Stone? Councilmember Bloomberg?
Aye.
Mayor Rotering?
Aye, 7 ayes, no nays. Item 6 is approved. I'm seeking a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.